So what I have to do is first go to antenna design kit. This is there in the desktop, and in that you probably can see that different types of antennas: monopole, dipole, patch antennas, and horn antenna. So in this experiment, we are trying to do dipole, patch, and horn. Okay. So the horn antenna is like a 3D antenna. It is a waveguide type antenna, and this one. Okay, this is we are going to do today, and this is patch antenna is typically for a microstrip, meaning that there will be a substrate like this. You can see that lot of substrate. These colors, no, these are the substrate where the antennas, no, antenna is this the orange color. So it is actually printed. It's actually printed. The antenna is printed top of the substrate, and there are different fed. The fed is either it can be the power can be fed through edge or it can be probe fed. You can see that small wires beneath the antenna. So that is a probe fed. So these are the different type fed. This is typically it is a printed antenna, and dipole is there are two types. Probably this is a wire antenna. This is not a 2D. This is a 3D. So these dipole antenna typically used in the in the normal modem of Wi-Fi routers and these structures. We typically use this antenna because it will have a good reception power and transmission power. So that this is a wire antenna, and also we have a printer type dipole antenna. This is a planar where we cannot have the 3D. When we want to print the antenna, we can use that planar. So in this experiments, we will be using this planar type, and probably I'll just check that. I will check the manual and tell you. So, but patch antenna will be using this probe fit, rectangular probe. You can either use the edge fit. You can see the difference. However, all the steps are similar, and we have a pyramidal horn. Usually it will be waveguide type. So there won't be any printed type for a horn. Basically, this is typically used in the high power transmission, either in the radars and satellites, and and so we will have a high power transmission using a this horn antenna. Okay, this is a frequency design kit, high frequency structure simulations. Let us start with a patch. I'm going to take with a rectangular probe feed, and I can choose that any frequency. Let us take 2 gigahertz, either 1 or 10 or 2, anything is fine. When you just synthesis, what happens, right? 1 second. This is, yeah, correct. So when I do the synthesis, these values, like what are the dimensions, the rectangular patch dimensions, you can see that there are, I cannot expand this window. Probably you can look that closely. This is probably with the mouse where I'm moving. So these all the unit is given in the centimeters. You can see that solution frequency, whatever I synthesized, 2 gigahertz, and the patch dimension, the X. So this is my Y and this is my X dimension. So where I can have an antenna, it's a rectangular type. X and Y need not be the same. It's a rectangular patch, and the dimension is automatically calculated by using synthesis. So if I don't have this design kit, I have a equation, set of equations that is typically empirical equation. Means that it is basically calculated by using the operating frequency. We have set of equations, so that will find calculate my patch dimension X and Y, and also the thickness also I can keep it constant. Typically this mil is that is a US unit. Especially there are conversion is there. You can put it here, unit mil to mm. Okay, so one sorry, what inch it is. So mil is a measurement, 0.001 inch. That is one unit. Probably there is no immediate conversion. So you can check that basically. I think 1.6 mm is 1 mil. I am not typically that very sure about it, but you can actually check it here. Conversion. 1000 of each 1 millimeter. Okay, probably mil to mm conversion, converting units. Okay, So here we have used that 62 mil in default. You don't need to change it. It will take the standard thickness. So if you want to change, you can do it. But I leave it as it is same default value. Just let it open. By the time we will see other thing. So here, what is the substrate dimension is this orange color. No, this orange and the light orange. No, that is the substrate. So there are two dimension basically, the substrate and also there are a patch. The patch it mean for this antenna that this is made up of the copper typically, that is a conductor, and the substrate is made of dielectric medium. That we will see that what is the material we have to choose. That is the material we have to choose the substrate. And these substrate will have a dimension, typically y and x. And the feed location is typically, if you can take that no, 0 and 0.97. So what is that 0 and 0.7 is? We'll take the MS Paint and tell you. So this is my rectangular patch. What I will do is, okay, so this is my typically the axis, reference axis. So size is more, let us look right value. This is my reference axis. So what I have is the patch dimension. So this is my patch. I'll take the other one. I fill it with some color. Okay, this is my patch. This is my substrate. Okay, the patch dimension is typically, I'll take the pen. Probably once. Okay, so this is my So this is my typically the patch dimension that what is given here. That is x. Okay, this is this is x. This is y. Okay, so here is this is a y, and this is my x. Okay, and what else? Substrate. Then substrate is typically this. The substrate dimension is y. Let me pick another color. This is my substrate. Y. This given no the notation both x and y, but this is no substrate, and this is my substrate x dimension. Okay, so here what is that the feed location is this point exactly at the center of point. The reference usually take here is standard way of telling is this is 0 comma 0, and exactly at the origin is 0 comma 0. I mean to say that x and y both are 0, and if you a little bit drifted, the feed location is, you can see that the feed location is little drifted along y-axis. I mean to say here somewhere the y location is, this is my x. Okay, x is 0, y is little drifted somewhere. I'll lose that probably contrast color. So this is my y. This is my the feed location exactly 0 comma 0.97. This is x is 0, y is 0.97. Okay, this is my feed location. So beneath that I'll have one probe. Okay, beneath this is a 3D, but you can understand that beneath that one probe will be there that exactly connecting to this point. So this is my the construction of the patch antenna. I think, is it clear? The power is fed into this point, that is a feed location. This is my patch no, this is my patch dimension x and y, and this is my the substrate dimension x and y. So how I know this exactly? Because this is design kit. In indirectly they have a lot of algorithms to address those equations. If you give only solution frequency, that is typically enough. Okay, so it is not calculated mil. So you also can check it if you have a internet just opened. So we are using a 62 mil. What is that? I told no 1.6, typically 1.57 millimeters. Okay, so I can choose that anything. I don't have any objections to, but I could not choose very bigger also. There are actually in the microstrip lines there are concepts is there. If you have a more thickness, it will have a no quasi TM modes of propagation. So it actually increase that the loss in the propagation. So the thickness also we have to keep it reasonable, and I cannot reduce it still
Sir,
1.5 about.
Sir?
Straight. It becomes typically difficult if I
Speaker
start with
இல்லாம சா.
okay. So that should be a reasonable value. I don't touch it. I leave it as it is. And what is other points? The coaxial inner radius, outer radius is that probe is there, no? This one. You can see that if I do the coaxial feet, this is my outer radius of the coaxial line. This is my inner radius. So that is a feet. These all again default standard value basically. Okay. So if you change this, for example, the one uh, difference I'll tell you. So when you change the operating frequency, I mean to say that if you are change that no, synthesis frequency, so what happens to the dimension? So I'm keeping this two. Just keep I of any one of x and y value. Either keep this x y, this patch x y dimension, or this substrate x y dimension. Keep I of any of these two. Probably I'll copy as it is. I'll just keep look into patch, okay, for example. This is my 5.93 centimeter, correct? Unit is centimeter, fine. That is my x, that is, I keeping y, this is x, right? This is 5.93 and this is y. So as you can see that this diagram is not in the scale that you can easily observe that because this is higher value, this is smaller value. So it's supposed to be like this. Sorry. Let me just cut this or something like that. Okay, now is it fine? Still not fine because it's y is small and x is more. Okay, probably I will fill it with more color in this direction. This. Okay, probably it's fine now. Okay, so that way. Okay, this is now y is 4.98 and x is 5.9. This is little bigger. Okay, so keep I of is, this is my descent frequency is what? F is 2 gigahertz. Okay, so now I'm going to change that my operating frequency. Let us take 5. I'm increasing synthesis. So what you can observe here is even these values, the inner radius, outer radius of the cable also is changing. And main importantly, this patch dimension, you can see that 2.37, that is x centimeter. So it is actually decreasing and y also decreasing. Okay. So whatever in the orange color for a 5 gigahertz, okay, whatever green color is the 2 gigahertz. So what happens now, whenever frequency is getting increased, the patch, the dimension is coming down. How this related basically? So whenever frequency is increasing, and lambda of course is decreasing, right? Because C equal to lambda F. When frequency increases, what happens? This is C by lambda. And frequency increases, lambda is decreasing. So what I have to do is when I design the antenna, I should make sure that the physical dimension of the antenna, either patch or any antennas, the physical length of the antenna should be less than or equals to lambda by 2. This is one of the prime criteria to design the antenna. So if I have increasing a frequency, the wavelength, the operating wavelength coming down, and when operating wavelength is coming down, and the physical dimensions also should come down. So to design the antenna. So the high frequency antenna will be more compact. So that is the reason, one of the reason going for higher frequency, operating frequency. The reason is I can actually fit the antennas in the aircraft and even small mobile phones. I can actually keep that antenna, the small dimension, small form factor. I can keep that so that my antenna working in high frequency. That is a huge advantage when you're going for a high frequency. There are always the cons, pros and cons, and high frequency designs. If antenna dimensions is coming smaller and smaller, it become very small. That is good, but thing is, it cannot receive more and power or transmit more power because the area is one of the criteria. It's something like when water, when doing a rainwater harvesting, how you can store more water. If you have a more the area of terrace area or more open area, if I have, I can collect more water. The same thing, if a antenna is bigger, I'll get a more power transmitter and receiver, and gain, of course, will be more increased. So we have to see that, balance it. How much frequency should increase, how much gain I want, I should leverage, balance this too, and I have to effectively design the antenna. Okay, that is the theoretical part. So here what we do is, similarly, if you keep increasing, keep watch of this coaxial inner radius. I hope that my voice is clear, no problem. Sir, again your voice is too low. Okay, captions on, low, use keyboard. What is that? Is that voice is okay now? Hello? His voice is okay now? Hello? Hello?
Sir, when you go to the this one, it will be
Low much
It's
speaker
not
ilvo.
keeping very near to me, that voice. I cannot listen. I don't have a speaker, basically. You have to chat me just if there is any problem. Okay? Probably. I will see that. If it is working, then not a problem. So here, I think, I hope that you got some points here. That frequency, when frequency increases, the operating wavelength is coming down. So the antenna diamond is supposed to be, equals to the wavelength of the wavelength, or it should be less than that. So in high frequency antennas, the operating wavelength is very smaller. The physical length of the antenna will come down. That is a huge advantage when you want to design the compact. But the high gain of the antenna will become compromised, basically. So that I can techniques, what we use it is, instead of keeping one antenna, I'll keep a multiple antennas. That is the reasons we are going for, one of the reasons to going for 5G technology, where we have a multiple antennas, multiple input, multiple output, MIMO antennas. So it can effectively work in high frequency, and also it can have a more gain, basically. Okay. So sir, when you teach that time, voice will go low. Use earphone. Okay. Is that? I'm keeping very close. Yeah. Yeah. So here is that clear? So we have that very high frequency. The wavelength is coming down. Antenna dimension also coming down. So by compactness I will get, but probably I have to compromise on gain. So to compensate that, it is a smaller for high frequency. The antenna is smaller, and also to get a more gain, because I need to see more power and transmit more power. So it has to be more. So to, balance this, I may keep more than one antennas in the smaller antennas. That's called antenna arrays, so that I can actually operate in high frequency, and also I can get a better transmission and reception, because the gain will be equally, it will be multiplied with the number of antennas. Okay, so that is a practical project. Also using that more than one antennas to work in high frequency, and also getting a higher gain and higher streaming of videos. So everything they are projecting is to get a higher, basically, the bandwidth. Okay, so this is the basically the difference. No, okay. When I have, just keep look into coaxial inner radius and outer radius. That also will be changing. That is a standardized value. So typically it's basically based on the frequency. However, the frequency, you can see that 0.0 centimeter is close to 5 mm, correct? So it is again very finite cables when a frequency is increasing. So this is again the standard value. If you go to 10 gigahertz, I think you can see that till that, see that the coaxial radius is also decreasing and length is also decreasing, and here the patch dimension is again coming down. Okay, 1.19. So we had initially 2 gigahertz, 5.93, come down to 2.37 for a 2 giga, for a 5 gigahertz. Still that again further it came down to 1.19 for a 10 gigahertz. So that dimension is coming down. Basically, the antenna dimension is coming down. Okay, with that basic, and the materials, no, I can choose any materials here. Typically, when you see that, I think it's taking time to open. However, just what I'll do is I'll take the 2 gigahertz and synthesis it and go to material substrate. I'll wait for some times to get open. If it is not, also you can change it in the no HFSS electronic desktop. Okay, there also you can change the material. Okay, so if it is taking time, then we go to the create model. So what it is, indirectly it's called to the electronics desktop that is presented here in the ANSYS electronic desktop. Okay, so it will invoke that the software. This is the main software. So there we will be starting the simulation. Okay, so what is the advantage of design kit is I no need to actually physically draw that antenna. It is available. I have to only synthesis my design frequency, and it will automatically calculate my the dimension. So it's calculate. Okay, so probably I'm waiting for that to open. Let us check. Again, I will try that. HFS ADK, go to patch, rectangle profit, and go to smaller frequency, so it is better. Let us go to synthesis. Let us take substrate. No, it's substrate. If it is not coming once you try it again, the substrate is taken as default by material. This is material is no, it is actually in the default. You can choose any material. Typically, we use two type of materials. I hope my voice is audible. So here I have that dielectric constant 2.2. This is for especially RT substrate. This is actually, we don't have this material in India. We are usually import this. Okay, it is taking till this much time to open this. Need a more patience to if the software because it's taking a license from the network. So if you have that demo version, it will be open immediately. Okay, so here, okay, fine. Yeah, if I open 2 times, it will tell error. Okay, so here no, the dielectric constant is 2.2. That material we don't have in India to make these materials. We have to import it. It is typically a little costly. So for that reasons, we'll use that little bit, no, not reasonable performance material called no substrate. So that is again, these all the things. No, what is that? Create, this kind of names is this is a proprietary material. They actually synthesis material. These materials they actually do did the copyright IP they will do. So when we wants to make it, we have to pay some royalty and we have to make it because it's not naturally available material. Okay, the reason is why they have made it, why it is different, unique. Each material is unique. Is this dielectric constant and loss tangents? These loss tangents you can even understand from the Boozer textbook in the first chapters. This loss tangent is the quantity to measure how good the dielectric constant, how good the dielectric material is. If the more the value, more the leakage. So we have that capacitor, there is a dielectric medium will be there, no, between that. So ideally, there is no any leakage between this top and bottom, between that, no, if the capacitor is insulating. But in practice, there will be a leakage. So due to that, there will be a leakage current will be there in the capacitor also. So we have to minimize this dielectric loss. Is typically you can see that it is very less, 0.0009. It's typically zero. It's a very good loss tangent. That is the reason it's little costly, basically. So if you go for FR4 state, I'll show that there. So this loss tangent is little bit higher value than the this material 2.2. Okay, that is a artidorite. So this thickness, I leave it as it is 62. I told this is 1.6 mm. 6 to 1 mil is 0.6. So 62 mil you can just calculate and find out basically. Okay. And when I create the model, it opens the electronic desktop. So the advantage of this design kit is this antenna and substrate and these two boxes automatically created. So I'll tell you what is these two box and what you have designed in the antenna design kit is this. Probably I can use that. Yeah, probably this rotate around the current axis. You can see that 3D structure. This is called a structure simulation. ANSYS is typically the mechanical tool, finite element modeling tool. So where the mechanical engineers, they need no model the structures, and they have to basically that simulate that high, for example, thermodynamics and aerodynamics. This is structure level simulation. They have to do it. So this is a part of FEM tool, a finite time difference in time, FTD tool. So break, you we have to divide the structures and we have to simulate it. Okay, this is what we have designed in the antenna design kit, and you can see that this is my one is x-axis, one is a y-axis, and you can see that the probe, the rectangular probe beneath that, it is little drifted on y-axis. So the green color is y-axis, no, that is drift on the y-axis. This is my x-axis. So you can see that this is my x. Probably the red color is x, and y, green is y. You can see that this is my x, this is my y. It is little drift. So y, z axis is coming off. So this is my no, design. Okay, this is the probe is in the beneath. This is the top of the antenna. This is the top portion of the antenna. So what is these two boxes? One box is we have to make this the antenna simulation is homogeneous medium. I mean to say that no, if antenna is the medium is keep changing. If no, if I do the antenna measurement, why in a chamber? Why should I do it? I think we know that we have that the antenna lab in the near to admin block. Why we need to do it is, one thing is we need to avoid the reflection from the surfaces, and also we need to keep the medium is homogeneous. We should not have a the humidity or air particles, because that will hamper my the no the measurement basically. Of course we have to keep the antenna in the no the normal free space, but however during the measurement, the ideal condition, I should know that how the antenna behaves. So the medium is homogeneous. I mean to say that epsilon r and mu r, relative permittivity and relative permeability, is the constant here, and one is to avoid the any reflections. Again, you can see that, probably escape and check that. You can see that this is virtual radiation, means there is no reflection, and this is my air box, means it's a homogeneous medium. I tried to measure the antenna in the no reflection medium, and also the air box is, it will provide me homogeneous epsilon mu r. Okay, that is a box extra, it is added. So typically this is a normal standard we do the antenna measurement. Okay, then come to the materials. You click the substrate, probably this is my substrate. No, there is one tool is there, probably what I can do is edit, if I remember, select by faces, just I don't want faces, edit, select by object. Let us take this object, substrate. Okay, so I'm taking this substrate. You can see that substrate material is my material, that what I've added. Okay, so when you go to that, for example, right click and properties. So this is my material property which I've added in the antenna design kit. That is our relative permittivity is 2.2 epsilon r, and mu r is 1 constant, and the loss tangent, more importantly, this is what the main one of the criteria to check the quality of the dielectric medium. Okay, light dielectric substrate. So this is my 2.2. If you come down 2.2, there are different materials and there are different names. You can see that. So this is Nelco, and these are most of the thing is developed by Roger companies in the USA. So they have developed different materials, substrate materials, which will give a different relative permittivity. Whichever lesser the relative permittivity is better to for a propagation. Okay, so that what the reference, basically thumb of rule. This relative permittivity has to be less. And if you see that 2.2, what is the name, we can find out here. Probably no, this is 2.2. This Nelton name is this, and typically this is one name, but loss tangents is also similar. Let us comes to, he wants to Roger. I told no, this is RD to right. No, this is the typical name. Again, there are different manufacturer to manufacture this. These are typically imported this. So this is RT Durite, typically available. We usually get this RT Durite. So last engine is 0.001. What a default material I've chosen is RT Durite. But what is a as a cost wise is better is FR4. Probably I can go to the FR4 substrate from somewhere here, epoxy. This is 4.4. It's not that much equal performance, but cost wise is reasonable FR4. And you can see that last engine is 0.02, but there it is 0.009. Okay, that is a difference, basically the performance difference. But it's reasonably good enough. Whatever we are having in the lab is FR4 substrate based antennas and passive devices. Okay, so this is what we have constructed the antenna in the antenna design kit. I hope my voice is audible, and keep checking it if there is any issue. Okay, so if you have any issue, just you can put in the chat. I'll try to answer it. Okay, so now we have got this antenna. Now what are the things we have to analyze is, no, first thing is I have to see that whether my antenna is working as like my design frequency. Okay, how to do that? So to some of the graph is that to know that whether my antenna is working on my design frequency. There's one of the main important graph return loss plot. Okay, so that we have to see it and find out. And another one is how the antenna radiation will be. If the antenna is radiating, how my radiation pattern, that I can find out by using a 2D gain. And also 3D gains, I can see that this is a gain pattern. This is a typically important thing. And input impedance is another parameter to see that how my this coaxial feed is perfectly matched into the no, to the antenna. So the location is one of the important criteria to match this probe impedance to the patch impedance, because throughout the patch impedance will be varying because voltage and current around the patch is varying. So voltage by current impedance also varying distributed. So I have to find out the location where the impedance is equal to the probe impedance. Usually the probe impedance we keep it at 50 ohms, right? Practically when you in the generator, you have that 50 ohms coaxial cable. So I try to match this impedance between this patch and coaxial. I just put the right location so both impedance is same. So my reflection can be minimized. That I can find out by using return loss and also impedance. What is the input impedance to this point, feed point, or what is the input impedance for my design frequency? Okay, that. So one more thing is when I design the antenna, if I design for 2 gigahertz, if it's working to 2 gigahertz, it is well and good. If it is not working, for example, 5 gigahertz, it's not a problem because that is not my design frequency. If it is not working for 1 gigahertz, also not a problem because that is not my design frequency. But one thing is we can design the antenna for only particular range of frequency. We cannot have that infinity bandwidth antenna. That is not possible. That is the one of the reason when you earlier when we bought that 4G phones, no, that is not compatible with the 3G earlier because the model and antennas, whatever they have designed, the modulation schemes are totally different. So they could not use that same antenna. So that when come to the later editions, they support 3G and 4. They usually the back versions of, so they've expanded that also the 3G and 4G compatible modems. Okay. So no, basically the frequency is one of the prime criteria to design the antenna. So sometimes we need the wider bandwidth antenna. For example, I cannot have that each frequency one antenna. For example, 2 gigahertz one antenna, 3 gigahertz one antenna, 4 gigahertz one antenna. It is not going to be viable, and also space constraint and matching, and also difficulty is there. So there are different type of wideband antennas is there. One example is log periodic antenna, and we may say that Yagi-Uda antennas, even horn antennas, it is a wideband antenna. Okay, these are the some antennas can be a wideband. Okay, that typically no, we will be using that. Okay, even the wideband there is a range is there. We cannot exceed that range. So that frequency versus impedance we can see it here. So what I do it now, I no need to change anything, but only thing is we have to change this analysis setup. Go to setup. This is my design frequency, and go to sweep. Okay, probably here sweep. in setup only you can go probably here. In the setup, okay, there is no sub option is there. Anyway, just I'll go to sweep. Here is no, it sweep to start 1 gigahertz to 3 gigahertz is well and good. Sometimes when you give the 10 gigahertz, it will start with the 2 gigahertz to 15 gigahertz. That may not be necessary because it is taking more time to simulate this, because the range is more. I don't want all the frequency, only whatever design frequency, and below that and above that some buffer time, buffer frequency is enough. It will reduce the computation time. And also you should not give a very shorter buffer. For example, 2 gigahertz, if when I designing it, I should not give 1.9 to 2.1, because that is too short. It won't give very exact results basically. Okay, there should be the reasonable start and end frequency so that it will give appropriate results. Okay, I leave it as it is. And probably there is a number of points. If you feel that computer is taking more time, so you can reduce the point, don't reduce too much, because that it is something like a resolution. So if you take a photo in the mobile phone, if you want a better resolutions, then you have to compromise the size. It will take more time to send. Okay, so I will compromise with the size, means we have to little compromise on the quality, or compression method. If I choose that, the quality of the image will be compromised. So similarly, if I reduce the point, the resolution, whatever the results I'm getting, it may not be very accurate, but still not everything wrong, but not everything is right. Okay, I leave it as it is. And apart from these three, the return loss, input impedance, and gain, so I'm going to add thing is the VSWR. Right click, you can add it later also. Let us do it parallelly. Okay, so what I will do is, I did not change anything, and just there is one tick mark is there, validate. So it will validate everything is correct or not. This will be our no default, it will be correct, because we have done with the antenna design kit. But if it is manually drawn, if you're making your own antennas, if you simulate and check it, there may be, if there is any small gap, if not, it's something like in which you would have will be there, no, if at some point it will tell error. So that errors will be reflected, and it will be notified here if there is any error. So it will check everything, mesh and analysis setup, optometrics, radiations, everything it will check. And once it is done, analyze all. So it will start, it will ask to no, save the project. I'm going to save it in the lab 1 underscore RMV. Okay, so it will take some time to simulate it. I think you can see the status also here. Since we have not changed anything, and frequency is relatively less, and the range sweep is less, we will get immediately. Now you can see that progress here. No, basically it is able to do it. So meantime, what we'll do is right click on the results, and we are interested also about VSWR. So this is no VSWR and return loss and input impedance is all called terminal solution data report. So go to that option, right click on results, terminal solution data report, and there is VSWR we want in terms of tables. That will be good enough. Or if it wants to graph also, I can do it. I can go to rectangular, and here I need a terminal VSWR parameter. So VSWR, you know, it is a number starting from 1 to infinity. So I choose that VSWR. The frequency is want to all frequencies basically. I want to sweep for all frequency. Okay, from 1 to 3 gigahertz. So let it be as it is. This unit is nothing for VSWR. There are no units, only the numbers. So I'll just create new report. Okay, so this VSWR also will be added once it is the calculation get over. No, I'll get the VSWR plot also. And this input impedance plot, it will be there in the Smith chart form. So if you are able to read it from the Smith chart also, or else I can see that input impedance in other way. I mean to say that same input impedance I can I think my if anything voice is not clear, you can tell me. That you can able to listen to me. Is it audible? Just put in the chat. Okay, fine. So if I'm able to read from the Smith chart, put impedance is fine. Or I can do it in another way. Go to results. This is all the return loss, VSWR, and input impedance, all terminal reports. And the gain, whatever we are seeing, is the far reports. So this is we are not going to use that. This emission test and reports, model solutions, that will be used for some other purpose. So mainly we will use this terminal solution data report and also report. This far field is the distance of the receiver antenna to measure the gain. That is a far field. When it is radiated, what is the far field, what is the report? So we will get all the gain and directivity of antenna from here. uh, Probably we can see the directivity also. Only the gain is added. I'll come to that. So let us add the input impedance. Go to the terminal solution data report. Go to the data table, and I want for all frequency for 1 to 3 gigahertz. And this input is a complex number. I want if I get only the amplitude, that is good enough. Not amplitude, magnitude. Okay. For a plus ib means what is the magnitude? Root of a square plus b square, right? So that is enough for me. This is called category is terminal Z parameter, because this is impedance, and the function is the unit what I want. So I want basically the magnitude of the complex number. Create new report. Okay. So apart from that, I may need no, with the gain I need a directivity. So directivity is a far field report. Go to the far field report. Go to the I can either do it in the 3D pattern or 2D pattern. So it is better to do the 2D, because 3D again it may take more processor time. That is very minimal, but 2D is enough to analyze basically. And 3D if I want, we can go it. So report, and I can go to the radiation pattern or rectangular plot. So I'll go to the rectangular plot. The radiation pattern is actually the polar plot. So either way it is fine. I'll just go to the rectangular plot. So I need, let us, when it comes to here, the gain pattern or directivity, I angle, what angle I want to see that. Okay. So normally, no, you just come to place, you see the directivity and gain. There are two variables. One is the frequency. So frequency wants to it is 2 gigahertz, and the pi, what is the pi is basically here you're going to theta, you're going to simulate all frequency from minus 180 to plus 180. Okay, this is different. When you select this, it will come everything. I don't want one frequency, I want all theta simulated. What is this theta? What is this? Okay, when you are doing the gain measurement or directivity measurement, I'll go to the paint. Okay, I don't know if I go to, if this is there, it is well and good. 3D I can show that, but I don't know how much system will take time. So probably I'll just 2D I will draw and I'll try to explain with that. Let us see. So if you see that this is my radiation pattern. Okay, this is my patch antenna. This is actually how it will come from the patch antenna. Okay, this is my orange color patch, and this is my substrate. Beneath that, probably I'll choose another color. This is my substrate. Okay, this is my pattern is coming like this. There are side lobes also. This is a prime lobe. There is a main lobe, and when I see this the pattern, usually this is called a spherical coordinate, because this 3D pattern. This is okay. So when you take that cylindrical coordinate, polar, what is that? Rectangular, cylindrical, polar coordinates. Okay, so when you take the polar coordinates, you have r comma theta comma and pi. So one is a radius. So radius we don't much interest about, because it's a far field, no? So these become negligible, but only theta and pi will be there. So what is the theta and pi in the no, spherical, not a polar, it's a correct name is spherical coordinate. So the spherical coordinate, what is the theta and pi? So if you take that, for example, any apple, right? You take that apple, I'm just trying to write this shape. So what you do is break this apple into the horizontally, cut it the horizontally. So when you break it, when you see that apple from the top, it may look like something circle. Okay, so that is called actually the pi. It's called the azimuthal plane. This is typically in the spherical coordinate. This is my pi. Okay, this is the horizontal axis. Cut the upper and the horizontally. Look it from the top. That is my azimuthal plane. Starting from 0 degree here. This is a normal. Normally we start here. This is my 90. This is behind it is 180, and here is 270. Again coming back is 360. So that is my pi value. That is azimuthal plane. That is the horizontal plane. So when I cut the apple in the vertical, like this, take another color. When I cut the apple in this vertical, how the shape will be something like, I'll get this kind of shape, no? If I cut it, this this shape also will come into picture if I cut vertically, correct? So this is called elevation plane. This is called elevation plane. That is the horizontal plane. This is theta. This is my 0 degree. This is my 90 degree, and below this 180, and this is 270. When coming back here is this is a 270. Okay, and this is again 360. So this is elevation. You can see that from the building also. When the engineers, no, civil engineers, they do that. No, they will do that elevation view and top view and elevation view. Elevation view is the front portion. No, how the building will look like from the front. So when you're standing in the, for example, EC department, when you're seeing that notice board entrance is all elevations. You are seeing from front. That is horizontal axis. Sorry, that is a vertically you are seeing. So when you're seeing from the helicopter, from the above sky, it may look like everything in the square shape. You don't need to see that. You cannot see that the window, no, the entrance front end portion. That is a top. This is azimuthal plane. Okay. So in the radiation pattern, here what I'm going to analyze it. Typically the theta, the elevation, changing from, let us take from 0 degree. This is my no 90 degree, and this is my minus 90 degree. Okay, so I can do that, the elevations. What happens to the for example the azimuthal pi plane? So pi plane is look like a, you know, cylinder. So what I can do is any one of the point I can see that. Okay, so this is a basic idea. You can later you can explore that further. So here what I'm going to do is I think I opened that window already. So right click reports, go to the no rectangular plot, and okay, go to the again already is there, go to directivity. So I want directivity total, and here for example I mean to say this theta, I keep it all as it is. The is when you choose that, pi is something like no, seeing from the top. Okay, I don't want everything. If I just want to get one or one location is quite a good enough, so I can choose that value to or leave it for time being, just whatever. Okay, so we will change the plot. If it wants to change it in another, we can change that. Okay, so that is my directivity. And directivity is typically no, we call it as in the dB, so you can put it to the dB scale here. Directivity gain is all, both are in the dB. You can close it, a new report. Okay, so you can do that. So you can see that so many lines, I don't want so many lines. That a reason, no, it is starting all the pies. No, you can see that I have a different pie, it's swept. I don't want no no, seeing from building, for example electronics department is there. If you want to see it in the one side is good enough, I can just understand the begin. If the building is uniform, you know, square shape, if I see it from one portion is enough. I don't want to see the right side or left side, and behind it building, whether how the building is look like. So that what you can do is here right click and modify, and you can choose that. Go to the pi, and pi is there, no, you just change that any one value, put a 0 degree, and close this window, apply trace. You may get only one value. This is quite good enough, because you don't need for all the as horizontal no, going around the building, and understanding it is square shape. It is only one side is enough basically. Okay, this is azimuthal, horizontally looking the plane basically. Okay, this is only the change you have to make it. So let us go into the all the results. I hope this is somewhat clear. Okay, so what I've done is just open model the ANSYS software, and you'll get a default return loss input impedance, 3D, 2D gain. Apart from these, I need a terminal VSWR and terminal Z parameter and directivity plot. So these three plots I have to add extra. And now let us go into the one of the important results. That means whether my design frequency is correctly captured the simulation, and am I getting the right characteristics at design frequency. So go to the return loss plot, and this is my design frequency. Just use the marker here, add marker, just add it here. So it will tell you that what is the X value and Y value. So X value is 1.9347 gigahertz, and I'm getting a return losses minus 70. So I have designed for 2 gigahertz. There is small drift is there. If it is acceptable, I will go with the design as it is. I don't need to further do the modification. But if it is not acceptable, if you go to higher frequency, this drift will be very higher. So that cases that is not acceptable. So what to do for that? So what is that exactly? The negative high value is for my design frequency, there is the point which is having contact in the patch and also the coaxial cable, it exactly the correct. So there is no impedance mismatch exactly here. So there is no impedance mismatch. There is no impedance mismatch in this. So whatever impedance the coaxial cable is there touching to the patch antenna, it's correct. So if this is not correct, I may not get that for a design frequency. It's further drifted. Okay, there will be the impedance at the point of contact between the cable and the patch antenna will be more. The difference is more, so that I will start getting more reflection. So that return loss will be higher for my design frequency if the feed location is not correct. So how to correct it now? I know that there is a small drift is there. How to correct it? So go to the project, probably right click here, go to the I think I mean to say here, choose this patch antenna, go to the design properties, and there are feed locations. In default, it has taken 0.97. This is from the antenna design kit. Try to, we're going to change this trial and error, but this is not a right method. We have a set of equations to find out what is the exact feed location. HFS, however, it has tried it its own method, but still it is not very accurate. So that we can either you go back to the equation and do it, or else because of the time constraint in the lab, we can manually change some little increase the value or decrease the value. Try to, this is 0.97 is there, I'll try to increase to 1.5. Okay, some higher value. I'm drifting, the point is drifting a little further away from the center. So once you have changed this, after the results I'm getting is not valid, that's why you're getting a cross mark. So what I have to do is again I have to validate. Validation again, it will come automatically, but I have to analyze all. That means that I have to simulate again and try to find out whether my return loss is improved. Whether am I getting the return loss exactly at my design frequency of hertz. Okay, so it will take some time. Meantime, you can analyze the other part which we got it for a earlier no location. So here, let us go to, no kind of sibling. So what are the siblings is no, the return loss and terminal VSWR, terminal Z parameter, all sibling. It's all our terminal properties, right? Let us go to the VSWR. So VSWR, you can, what you can do is click on the graph, right click and marker, just to add the marker for minimum, add minimum. So actually it is added, and it also, because it's simulating, no, that's why it is not giving exact VSWR, because we have changed it, no. So that's what the graph is got changed. Let us wait for, let it complete the simulation. Okay, so meantime you can probably just return loss, I'll check it again. So you can see that still it is not done basically. So let us take time slowly. I think now it is. Okay, probably if there is any option to clear, I'm checking it, or else let us go to the VSWR. Okay, So VSWR is actually close to 517. This is not acceptable, right? It's too much drifted, and return loss is again further drift. So what I've changed, it's too much probably. So I have to change it, not too much, very less. Okay, got this. So this is actually the previous value, but whatever the value I'm getting, it's not acceptable. Okay, so what I will do it, again go to design parameters. I've changed too much of y value, just reduce to initially how much I got, probably what the design kits, it's a 0.97. Oh, I've changed differently. It's supposed to be 1 point. I've changed so different value. 0.97. I thought to change to point close to 1 point. So that is error. That is a problem. Okay. So ideal value is 0.97. What I've changed is it is not correct. This is the exact previous value 97. So what I have to do is I have to little add, not too much. What is the value I can add? 0.03 means 1. Let us add 0.05. So how much? 0.97 plus 0.05. Typically it is 1.02. Okay, I'll just change to 1.05. Let us see. 1.05. Okay. Then mass y I have need not to change. Should I? Can I change x? Here is for a safer side. I'm changing only y, because if it starts changing in both direction, I may miss out the correct spot. So that is the reason I'm not changing only y, not x. Okay, I changed it again, simulating it. Analyze all. So it will take some time, and okay, is that clear now? Okay. So what I will do is it is simulating it. So only if we have changes location. If I am not able to get uh, for example here the design properties. So if I'm not able to get exact return loss at design frequency, if I change this location and try to set my return loss very less design frequency. Initially, 0.97 was there. I added some 0.02, actually 0.03, no, it's 0.0. Only that factor I just increased, not too much. So this way you can fine tune that at the feed location by trial and error. That way it is possible to exactly bring this return loss to the exact design frequency. Okay, so let it happen. So I just tell you other uh, part of the experiment is probably we are doing the second one, and all the steps are given. This is all what I told, the design frequency for a dimension of the patch antenna, and this is all the steps what we have done. And you can see that substrate also you can choose that, and the dimension. Okay, and this is the results. You can add number of results, the feed location you can change that, and to bring it to the return loss exactly for design frequency. This is my the radiation pattern for pi. They plotted two values, 0 and 90°. 0° is quite good enough. If you want, you can add 90° also. This is a VSWR plot. For my design frequency, the VSWR should be very less, close to 1. So these are the plot I have to check. Let us see whether I got it. Okay, I think you can see that the return loss is initially it was on the left side. Now it was went to the right side of 2 gigahertz, correct? It is still simulating. Let us wait for some time. So, okay, let us take this time. So what we have to do it next is similarly for a patch, we will see it probably in the next class, the patch, sorry, dipole antenna. This is a microstrip dipole. Okay, that the second option in the antenna design kit. The next set of the first experiment is go to the no, dipole, go to the planar dipole and choose the frequency and create model, synthesis and create a model, and we'll get this kind of plot. Again, we have to find out the return loss plot, and we have the radiation gain pattern and VSWR plot. This is my horn antenna. And what are the things I have to observe in the first experiment is for a single patch antenna, I have to find out what is the gain I'm getting at 0 degree and VSWR and S11, the input impedance. I mean to say this is a return loss. Okay, that is a return loss. This is my input impedance. For a single patch, planar dipole and horn antenna, I have to list out. Okay, very straightforward. And what we are doing, why we are doing, if you know that, I think it is easier to find out. So, however, here I will just tell you about the gain. So here we got the gain is close to 0 degrees. Just add the marker here at 0 degree. You can say that 7.341 dB. This is my gain plot, and directivity also you can just note down here. This is my directivity plot. Add the marker at 0 degree. So this is again 7.735, and the gain is a little less, correct? uh, Gain is 7.5, directivity is 7.3. So usually there is a relation between gain and directivity of the antenna. So directivity is efficiency time of uh, the gain is efficiency time of directivity. Okay, that is what the relation. So if you say that, so what is that gain of the antenna is the efficiency time of directivity is the gain of the antenna. So here we got close to I think 5.7 dB. This is 5.5 dB I got. So many times the efficiency of the antenna will not be 100 percentage. It will be less than that. This is we call as the antenna efficiency, that is AEF. So it involves the many factors, the impedance and the dimensions, everything. So since the efficiency is not 100 percentage, the gain of the antenna will be typically less than the directivity. So what is the gain and directivity? So if you take this antenna, when you place it on, for example, if this antenna on the mobile towers, no cell phone towers, I don't want more directive. I think you can see that in the mobile towers, there are in the towers there is like a kind of tube lights, antennas will be there. This is called sectored antenna, will have a higher uh, coverage basically. So when you have a higher coverage, it will be like all the cell location will be divided into hexagonal shape, and each hexagonal shape is covered with one sectored antenna. It will have a higher coverage basically. So this is when you have that higher coverage, means that it is not more directive, it's a less directive. More directive is it is concentrated on one direction of the location, that is more directive. This is less directive what we use it in the cell phones, but the advantage is I can cover more area basically. They don't want to install every place one antennas, no mobile towers, it's not advisable. So they will try for less directive and a high uh, no coverage basically antenna. I mean to say like there is one more tech name is there, that is a theta I, half power beam width. Okay, that is a what is the beam width of the antenna. So if the broader the radiation, if the broader the coverage, the beam width will be higher. Oh, okay. So whenever you have a higher bandwidth, higher beam width, you have a high coverage, less directive. Suppose if you want the antenna from, for example, let us take uh, in the earth, this is my earth here. Okay, this is my Mars, and I want to keep the antenna somewhere like this. This is my antenna. Maybe I cannot change it. Okay, it should be a little tilted. However, just I'm just for a demonstration. Probably this is my antenna I'm keeping here. So this has to be Mars. I have that satellite. I have to track it in the Mars. So these antenna, I cannot have that wider coverage. It should be really highly directive because it has to travel no so much distance basically. No, the directivity should be very high, so that it will have that so many kilometers, right? So we use that very bigger, no, many wider antennas to contact with the, this in the satellite basically. So this is a high directive antennas, but the beam width will be very narrow. It will have very sharper beam. This is my radiation patterns. Like we have a kind of point beam. That is what the balance we have to do. So if you want more distance to more travel, no more distance traveled, I need more highly directive. If I don't want the reach, but I need more coverage, I have to go for less directive antennas. Okay, so I think it is simulated now. Let us go to the return loss. Okay, I'm getting a different plots. Okay, which is one is the correct? Probably this is the old one which we got it. This is the correct one. Okay, so probably what we need to do is there is a settings to make it bring it back to the original position. Probably in the view, I'll just try that. Zoom out. I'm given that zoom out. Probably zoom. No. Okay. So however, I just need this value only. Okay, probably it is taking time to do it. Yeah, I got it. So here I've changed the dimension. It's coming little close to the 2. Okay. So this way you can always try to adjust this feed location and bring this point to close to 2. So that we need to simulate again, and we have to do that. So that is the one things we have to do, change the feed location. And this input impedance part, actually in the Smith chart, it is difficult to, if it is difficult to understand, we can go to this impedance terminal is at parameters. I've done with with respect to the table for a design 1 to 3 gigahertz. What I've done is I've written the magnitude. I've written the magnitude of what connecting point of the coaxial cable to the patch. So in that my design frequency, that is 2 gigahertz, I should have the impedance of cable endpoint of 50 ohms should be reflected on the feed location. So what I mean to say that at 2 gigahertz, I should have a 50 ohms, or I think this is my magnitude of Z. Probably I'm getting 200. It is not, probably it's not correct. Probably I'll just try to change it here. Let us see, modify the report. Terminal parameters, just take the magnitude. Okay. So here, okay, I'll come to that probably when I'm saying that no dipole antenna. I will tell you that probably this impedance has to be exactly matched to the 50 ohms. Okay, that what the ideal match we usually tell. So that we will just, I'll check that. You again also try that. The manual, I think probably maybe skipped, I'm not sure. You can verify once also if the feed locations, no, when you do that, or write down what are the impedance you are getting. That is quite good enough. Impedance you are getting, let it be what are the values you are getting. Okay, so that is the impedance. And when it comes to the directivity, I've shown that what is the directivity. Then comes to the VSWR at my design frequency. Okay, I think there are, I think I did a mistakes here. So it's a terminal port selected here. Let us see, modify port. Terminal is a parameter. So okay, this is okay. There are mistakes here. It's supposed to be the magnitude, right? Let us go to the magnitude. This is modify report. It's correct only. This is the magnitude only I've given. Let us see. Okay, I'll check that once. Probably later I'll check once. So coming to the VSWR, no, that at design frequency I should get near to 1. So it is, I'm getting close to 1.57. It's good enough, but I change the feed location, I can get exact right match. So what is the exact match I'm talking about is the return loss should be higher enough, typically greater than or less than minus 15 less than minus 15 dB return loss. And input impedance is, what are the impedance is location is 50 ohms, so that my VSWR is 1. So this is my typical ideal value of 1. This is for a design frequency. For any frequency, when I do that, so this is our desired property. The return loss has to be lower, and input impedance should be 50 ohms. I check this. Probably I'll tell you, update you in the next class. And VSWR is close to 1. So why it is a ideal value is, what is that gamma is reflection coefficient. That is nothing but ZL minus Z naught and ZL plus Z naught. So this is not a magnitude, just a gamma. Okay. So if perfectly matched point, the coaxial point to the patch, so the reflection will be ideally 0, no reflection. So I'll get what is the return loss is minus 20 log of gamma. So if gamma is 0, log 0 is infinity, I'll get a minus infinity. This is ideal value. So that's the reason if it is more highly negative, it's a good, basically. That is my gamma and return loss. So what is that, this thing, the input impedance? This ZL I can write Z in the input impedance. Wherever the point I'm going to find out, the impedance which both interfaces are connected, means to that coaxial cable and patch. That is the input impedance, what I'm going to find out. So if gamma equal to 0 means perfectly matched, then means what? Zn equal to Z0. So when the perfectly matched the location means, what is the characteristics impedance of the, for example, this is my coaxial cable is 50 ohms, means the input impedance also should be comes around 50 ohms of the meeting point of coaxial cable to the patch. That's the reason I need expected this 50 ohms is my input impedance. And what is the VSWR? So VSWR and gamma is related with, VSWR is we usually call as 1 plus mod gamma divided by 1 minus mod gamma. Okay, there is my VSWR. So what is the ideal value of gamma is 0. So no reflection. So 1 plus 0 by 1 minus 0 is 1. So whenever I am getting near to S equals to 1, that is my ideal behavior. So what is the ideal characteristics of terminal property is, the return loss should be minus infinity, but that is theoretical. Practically minus infinity is not possible. So if you get more negative dB, that is good enough. That is what I'm looking in the return loss plot, where I'm getting less return loss here. Okay, if the less the return loss, good the match. There is no reflection is there much. Okay, and similarly, wherever the VSWR is less, I'll get the means that wherever the VSWR is here, sorry, I think here, wherever this the point near to 1.5, that is my close to better one. And the return loss also I told. The input impedance I'll just verify and tell you. And gain and this directivity I told. This is a gain I will get it for this patch, and the directivity is little higher than the gain because the efficiency will be. Okay, the same analogy you can explore horn antenna and dipole antenna. What the main thing you want is the return loss plot, and the other sibling is the input impedance, and then VSWR. That is not actually, for a practical sense, it may not be necessary. If I know the return loss, everything is known basically. And gain and directivity, again, it's a like a twins, like a brothers and sister kind of. Okay, if I know the directivity, I can find the gain of the antenna. If you know the efficiency, okay, that if I know that return loss and gain is quite good enough. What is a 3D plot? So 3D plot is, I can see that how the beam is there for horn antenna, sorry, for a patch antenna. I can see the patch is beneath, and this is my rotation. I can rotate it. Okay, I can rotate the antenna. I can see that, rotate the beam and see how it will become. So this is, the pattern is like bigger because it is not more directive. How to make it more directive? So it is not in the manual. Just we can do that. What I can do is go to the radiations. Instead of one antenna, I'm going to give multiple antennas, make a rectangular array setup, make it a regular array. So here first cell position, here I'm going to increase the number of cells, means that I'm going to increase the number of antenna. I'm going to, let us take, instead of one antenna, let us take 4 or 3 cross 3, it is very high. Probably let us take nominal value 2 cross 3, 2 rows, 3 columns. Okay, so totally 6 antennas. And let us keep this theta and plane 0, because I just need to know that and azimuthal and elevation plane at exactly 0 and degree. This is in the degree, and this is again degree. So I don't want this. And let it keep this distance or the default value as it is. So I'm just going to increase the antenna. And when you do that, I no need to simulate this. That is an advantage of increasing using array, because there are array factor, which this multiplication factor, if I know that one antenna, I can actually find out the radiation pattern of n number of antenna, more antennas, just multiplying that array factors. Okay, now let us go to the gain, 2D gain. So the gain, typically you can see that it is increased from 7 to 15. Just you can add that. I think there is a graphical error. It's not supposed to be the overlap, the previous result and current results. Okay, you can try it in your system. Probably you will get only the recent results. Okay, 3D pattern. Just can see that 3D pattern. You will get no, the shape is retained, but you can see that the gain is increased to more than 15, 20. Okay, so if you still increasing the number of antenna, you will get a even more gain. Basically, this is how at frequencies when it increasing, if I increase the number of antennas, I can actually get more gain basically by increasing a number of antenna. Okay, with that, probably I'll stop, and thanks for your patience to listen this. So try it yours, and probably just as it is, you follow that. There is not much difference. Only for a dipole antenna, how you have changed the feed location, you have to change the dipole length to no, fit that the return loss exactly to the design frequency. That is already mentioned here. And horn antenna is very straightforward. You just need to go to the design kit and choose that frequency and simulate it. You will get similar the return loss plot. This is the radiation gain plot, and you just mark everything, so you will get the no observations from this out of these experiments. Okay, I hope some points are clear, some points are may not be clear. I know that there's azimuthal elevation planes, you need some time to understand, but I think with this some minimal understanding, still you can by doing it you can understand even better.